if Sheets is going to make it for this live show. Hopefully he will for at least a little bit. I'm just going to do a quick one. I wanted to just not leave you guys empty-handed. As you know, I'm on the West Coast, and it's hard to get my plays up for the morning slates unless it's a big slate, and it's a small slate today, so I thought we would just talk through it. Pretty straightforward as far as where like the obvious chalk is going to go and where people are going here. I think Milwaukee and Cincinnati do make the most sense to me, but I also think that you're going to have the most ownership there. And I do think guys like I'm just taking a quick look. I've got projections that are just absolutely can't be right. They've got no player at more than 10%. So the projections, but I can just tell you right now, it's going to be Milwaukee and Cincinnati as the most popular. Sadly, those are my two favorites that make the most sense. I think that there's an argument for Tampa Bay, and I think there's an argument for Oakland, especially one-offs, like Matt Olson as a one-off instead of Votto at first, possibly. We don't have those lineups yet either, so keep in mind with Milwaukee, it's probably going to be Pena, but there's always a chance it could be Narvaez again. But usually the day off, the Wednesdays go to Pena. What's up, Kevin? Anyway, so I'm just talking through what I'm doing. So basically, I have like 10 lineups, and they're splitting between – it's more pitchers than I would usually pitch here. I usually just want to find 2 or 3. I've got 4 that I like. I like Montas, Castillo as my favorites, and then Peralta and like Logan Gilbert for the upside on the flip side of it. So that's sort of what I'm doing pretty much from a pitching standpoint. It's pretty basic. It's not a whole lot to get creative about. I don't think you really want to mess with anybody else other than those guys, including Musgrove, who I'm going to avoid. I actually think the Oakland bats are probably the thing that if I don't win on this slate that I'll regret not doing, because I do think that there is a lot of upside against Musgrove here for them going back to the American League. Of course, he can be dominant. We saw it last time out. We hadn't seen it until last time out for a while. And Oakland has some big bats now, so I actually just think that's an interesting thing to consider. I really like the Oakland as a longer shot stack on today's slate. Drop in any questions, say hello when you get into chat. We're just going to get these. Looks like Sheets just messaged that he's going to be on here in a few minutes. He's just wrapping some of the things up, which we appreciate. So thanks to Sheets for getting everything updated. And we are basically, I don't know how to get away from any of the Cincinnati. One way you can try and get different is to try and play either Shogo at the bottom, maybe instead of Aquino. That's one way. Maybe you can do something a little bit different. I actually think the other bats that you'd consider, if you're playing a bunch of lineups, would be Tampa Bay. I just think there's enough upside for Tampa Bay here to really be viable. Let me just do something real quick. I would like to get a bottom of the Cincinnati order with Shogo and Naquin. I'm not Naquin, Aquino. And I'm still building my lineups as we go, of course. So let me just get this part figured out, and then we'll move over. But yeah, it is one of those like weird, you could do sort of anything you want slates, but at the same time, I think that you want to try and get a little off the board, at least take a bat or two from those Oakland, San Diego, or Tampa situations to try and get a little bit different, just because of the nature of the slate. So that's what I'll be doing. You know what? I'm not going to probably do it in this particular lineup because anyway. So drop in some questions. I'll take time to answer them in just a minute. I'm just finishing up a few things, and I will be ready to go with you guys and answer questions and say what's up and all that stuff, all the good stuff in just a minute. And also, one other thing is you don't need to stack today. The problem is I like the actual stacks, so I'm good with going all the way with one of these stacks or two. So anyway, we'll get what Sheets' opinions are soon. Zunino, great call. I love Zunino. Even if you're playing Logan Gilbert, I think Zunino is in play. That's the way I'm sort of looking at this. I think that, I think that you could play a one-off against your pitcher easily and get away with it here. And Zunino obviously has the most power of any of the catchers on this slate. I'm going to try and mix up a few things here. Look, I've got outfields, and even on this tiny little slate where nobody is over 2,700 or 2,800, and that would be Tyrone Taylor as my 2,800 guy. It's just pretty funny how the builds, if you want to jam in some of these other bats, you have to do some things a little bit differently. Suarez is my favorite play from Cincinnati. I think that'll be popular. I'm not saying anything off the board. I do think that third base is not a position I'm in love with. Seager's probably my next. I'm sorry, Chapman and Seager were probably my next two favorites in that order. And here we go. If I do this, I'd like to get a Tampa stack or two before I get out of here, and I haven't quite figured out how to do that yet. So that is something I'm working on here. Let's see if we can find a way to do it. Yeah, okay, I'll get to it. But yeah, pop in questions, guys. I know we're just doing this, I always want to be there and have the projections. It's just being on the West Coast, getting projections for this early of a slate for people to see them and get them done in the research and everything. It means I'm up at like 3 a.m., not even like 5 a.m. because I have to go to the main slate too, and I have to have that one done after. Then we've got golf after, so it's a little tricky. I think Winker is a good. I don't want to say low owned because they're all going to be owned, but he'll be a lower owned version of the other stack. Yeah, I think that's an interesting way to go. I can certainly get behind that. And I'm currently in the midst of trying to see if I can get a Tampa Bay / Oakland sort of combo situation going on here. I like Zunino. I really like Tampa Bay I actually think that might be a good way to go, is to have a Tampa Bay stack, because there is a lot of power in that team, and that offense is just it's just got a lot of options. I love Meadows. I love Arozarena. He's on fire right now. I just think there's a ton of options you can choose from those guys, and they all make a lot of sense to me. And let me just see, can I get Brandon Lowe in here? Brandon Lowe. Yes, I can. Yeah, Tampa and Oakland, that's sort of what I'm doing as my more contrarian build. I also think getting some Seattle bats is a good way to go as well. And potentially, if you're not playing Castillo, who I love, then you can mix in some of these cheap Minnesota bats, because their prices are so far down because they've just been pretty awful, and it's a tough matchup and all that stuff. Let's see real quick. Can we get this done right? Can't quite get it done right with the Tampa Oakland combo stack the way I want it, but no big deal. Easy ways around it. Crawford. And we've got Toro and Clinic. And yeah, I mean, so like getting some Seattle, getting some Tampa Bay, getting some Oakland. I just think that staying away from the obvious game is definitely going to be something you'd want to do in a large field tournament. But again, it's going to be hard for me to do that. So looks like Sheets is going to be here in a couple minutes, and we'll see what he's doing. I would like to change that I've got, basically the same lineups with different pitchers in my two main lineups so far. I think Seattle can be sneaky too, Kevin. I think I just don't think you go, like, again, it happened the other night where they left Walker in, but in general, I mean, look, it's a small slate, so it doesn't really apply as much, but Seattle would be a little bit lower owned for me personally, just because we've got I think you can get lower ownership on the other sides as well. And I don't think that Fleming is terrible, and the bullpen is not terrible either. So that's my only argument for maybe not playing as much Seattle there. Looks like we've got that done. Okay. Yeah, I really didn't want to just start off and just try and build around Cincinnati and Milwaukee, but it's hard not to do, even at chalk, because they do stand out for me as being the best options. So I do like these day games in Oakland, and I don't mind ever picking on a little bit of Musgrove if he's struggling. I know he pitched well last time out, but it's been rough with him for a while now. And Milwaukee and Cincinnati are right neck and neck for me before anybody asks, because usually we get that question, who do I pick? I think they're really close. I think I have a little bit of lean towards more Cincinnati, but I do have some Milwaukee. What's up, man? Sorry, I just wanted to get things going.
Hey, what's happening?
How's it going? What's up, K9 Bronco? Top three Brewers for the slate. Sheets, will bring you in just 1 second. For me, it's we don't have a lineup yet, but I would say Escobar. I don't mind using Pena as my catcher, and Adames would probably be my top three. But Wong, Tyrone Taylor, Lorenzo Cain, Avisail Garcia. I like all of them. It really is like you can take your pick on this particular slate. So I wouldn't probably play Kane unless I had other Brewers, but it's fine too. Like, I mean, they're all strong plays. I do think maybe if once we get the order, I could answer that question better, because as of right now, it's kind of hard to answer without having the lineup out. Sheets, what are you doing on this early slate?
Pitching wise, I think my main my bigger lineup I think is going to be Peralta Gilbert.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously Castillo's in play, but I have Peralta as my main guy, with Gilbert second. That's my that's where I have the most of my lineups are going there. And I'm playing, just so you know, in context, I'm playing like 20 lineups, and then I'm playing one of the whatever that's called, the perfect entry, whatever that is.
Mm-hmm.
That's the big one. And then I'm also playing one of the bigger whatever that was a triple entry or something like that.
I don't know, the 150.
Yes. Sorry about that.
Okay. Yeah, no problem.
Yeah. Why are these edit things here? Oh, because of Ohtani later. Okay. So yeah, I'm going with in my big one, I'm going with Peralta and Gilbert, and I'm not playing Milwaukee in that one. What I'm doing in that one is I am playing Cincinnati, but I'm pairing them with Minnesota. That's what I'm doing.
Yeah, I'm changing mine up a little bit right now. I want to have Tampa and Oakland stacked.
Oh, nice.
To get off the board, but Cincinnati and Milwaukee are my two favorites. In all fairness, I'm just trying to get creative here.
Yeah.
So it's a small slate, and then I'm using my main pitchers are Castillo and Montas, and then Gilbert and Peralta would be the next two for me.
Well, someone's going to win, right? We got everybody.
Yeah. I mean, I could see this going really badly for Gilbert.
Okay.
And I mean, just it's one of those that could go well. As you have a young stud against a really experienced team that's going to throw everything at him. Yeah, it's not a park you generally want hitters in, but I really am starting to come around to I need to probably get myself a stack there.
Okay.
Just seems to make too much sense, and all these weird things in Milwaukee about how long these guys are pitching. I mean, it is true. Freddie Peralta threw 68 pitches in his last start, 51 previously. So he's definitely a guy who I don't mind if you just want to cross out. I don't think that he should be one of the top three pitchers with the way that they're using him right now. Now, partly that's been because they've been blowing the teams out, but that's always been Pittsburgh that they're blowing out. So it's hard to know, So like a Peralta with a Milwaukee stack is probably a mistake.
Yeah, I was like one swipe away from doing something decent. I had that Milwaukee-Pittsburgh game stacked, and I needed it to run a little better. I needed another inning maybe, and just kind of things to.
They didn't do anything though, did they? They were being no hit in the seventh.
I know, but they scored 5 runs in the seventh.
Yeah, but they didn't actually do anything.
Yeah, they did it right.
I don't think anybody had a home run or anything, did they?
No,
Maybe.
But I mean, but if I was like a couple of points away. And I had 3 guys from Pittsburgh. So
Right. I just didn't think I had them I was kicking myself for not playing Hauser because of how bad Pittsburgh is. I mean, they were literally no hit. I think they only had 1 guy on base. It was almost a perfect game for a while.
Yeah.
Anyway,
what do you like? What do you like on? Are you playing FanDuel? What do you like on FanDuel?
I'm not playing FanDuel for the morning. I never do. Tournaments suck.
They do.
It's never anything that I want to spend any extra time on. It's already weird enough in the mornings. But yeah, I was in first place for the Monster last night for 100K for probably about an hour off and on.
Which Monster was that in? DraftKings or is that FanDuel, right?
FanDuel.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I just had it didn't end up working out with the Tampa Bay, Detroit, Boston because they literally just left every runner on base in that game. And
is that what happened?
But like Renfroe hit a home run for me even in that to save that. And then I had, Judge, Stanton, which was pretty common, but Sanchez and LeMahieu both did really well. Then I had my other lineup. My other one, I had the shortstop. Why can't I think of his name? Gleber, who actually had a really good game, even though he didn't hit a home run. Never quite got there, but I ended up making a little bit of money on the night.
I wanted to give you a Lady Gaga, Tony Bennett trip report.
Yeah, I would love to hear about it. Let's tell us a little bit about it.
Well, it's really it's interesting because okay, so they've been kind of touring together for like 10 years now, and this is like kind of their last go around. I mean, Tony Bennett's literally 95. It was his birthday yesterday, and so it was a Radio City Music Hall in the city, and it was like the New York City in full gear, like in line to get in. There were multiple protests going on about totally different things. Like we had some people like walking up and down protesting the COVID vaccination requirements. Okay, they were saying how dare you tell me what to do? Your papers, please. This whole crew. You had another group of people that were demanding freedom for people to how dare you make people wear masks. Okay, then you had a couple of Black Lives Matter and a couple of anti Lady Gaga from the LGBTQ community just parading up and down, just uber psycho. There was a near fist fight between one guy and a police officer, and that was just before you got in. Okay. Now they also was interesting. They had the you ever hear of the Yonder Pouch?
What is that?
Okay, so what they did, what a lot of performers are doing now, they're trying to make cell phone free zones. So what they do, they have this thing called the Yonder Pouch, YONDR. It's a really big company nowadays, where you have to everybody puts their cell phone in this pouch and they lock it. Okay.
Oh, okay.
So
I know what it is, but I just didn't know what it was called.
And they gave it to everybody with this, and they had these these areas that if you needed to actually do something in an emergency, they would like unlock the cell phone for you. You know what I mean?
Right.
That actually went somewhat more smoothly than I thought it could have. And so that went really well. And the thing is that at Radio City Music Hall, I will tell you this: if in fact this Delta variant passes through vaccinated people, you're going to have the greatest super spreader event in all history last night. Like it was so packed and so crowded. I mean, they had people like just say if they were vaccinated when they're technically people had to show ID or whatever, but it was a freaking zoo. But it was fine. You know, everybody got along. You know, it was whatever. But it was, and the show itself was great. Lady Gaga, she is quite a performer. I mean, to say the least. Yeah, so she was great. And even Tony Bennett, he put on 40 minutes of nonstop. The guy's literally 95, and so that went really well. And so there was a good day for New York City personality and New York City in general. By the way, again, here's another Luis Castillo pitching in the afternoon slate.
Yep.
I'm just saying on FanDuel, I'm playing Castillo over there. What else about this early slate? I have to upload, and again, I apologize, guys. I mean, I do the best I can to get these things updated or whatever it is, but I'm just,
sometimes for the tiny slates, it's a little bit tricky.
But I'm just not everywhere. But the tiny, I actually did get everything updated for today. This morning. Sometimes I will, sometimes I won't. That's just the way it is. Okay. What else about the early slate? Are there any questions on the early slate?
I don't think we can take a look at the questions in a minute. I'm just trying to figure out my main build here, which is now.
What do you?
2-2-2-1-1.
Right. So you're going with Montas and
Montas and Castillo is my main ones, but then I have Peralta and I do have some Peralta and I do have some of the Gilbert. But I think it's playing some Tampa Bay and Oakland is a good idea on this particular slate.
Okay.
I think that trying to attack a guy like Gilbert who's really good is more viable than trying to take a guy who's going to be 30% owned and take the unknown guys who are really good, who's a really good offense against a young pitcher and hope they make him work. That's the way I'm looking at it. I also don't mind the Pittsburgh bats against Peralta, especially because he keeps throwing 60 pitches. But taking like a one-off, I mean like Polanco, who's really been hitting the ball well, by the way, even though he hasn't hit a home run in a few days, he's really hitting the ball hard.
He did really well. Yeah, he spent 25 fantasy points yesterday, Polanco.
Yeah, he's been really, really good. Favorites are Suarez and Farmer for Cincinnati. Meadows and Arozarena would be my two favorites from Tampa Bay. My favorites from Milwaukee would be Escobar, Pena, assuming that it's going to be Pena, and then Tyrone Taylor. Kane, Garcia. They're all similar on Milwaukee rated for me. Trying to fade Joey Gallo, even though I actually don't know where he's going to stand in relation to ownership with Matt Olson. What are your thoughts on that, real quick?
I'm sorry, you're asking about
Joey Votto versus Matt Olson ownership.
you said Joey Gallo. I'm like, whoa, what's going on?
I'm sorry, I meant Joey Votto.
Well, I mean, Joey Votto. I mean, I presume he's going to be popular. I presume all the Reds are going to be really popular. I mean,
Yeah.
And I've got him. I probably with the field at 55%.
Yeah, I'm trying to get off of him, even though I liked him a ton.
Who do I have at first base? So you could play then. I mean, with power, the guys I mentioned, but you can play Sano.
Yeah. And not. Yeah. I just want. No, I'm not asking for another. I'm playing Votto or Olson. I'm just.
Okay.
It's just a matter of where we thought the ownership might be between the two of them. And I like some of the Seattle individual bats too. So I'm just trying to stay away from that. Since I originally just built all Cincinnati, Milwaukee, and I'm trying to get away from that desperately right now. Just doesn't feel like an optimal way to go. So trying to avoid it. You've got Aquino down at the bottom of the order, who should have some ownership. Aquino and Taylor, I'm guessing, are going to be the more popular, lower owned players.
I actually at first base, since you're asking the question about ownership, I have it a little more spread out.
Really?
Yeah. I have Choi getting some.
Mm-hmm.
Even I don't even know France first base. France, Torrens, Hosmer. I mean, I don't know. Maybe.
I feel like Toro doesn't get enough ownership ever.
Toro's good.
I know. And yeah, I mean, you look at it, just even fantasy points per game, he adds more than the other guys who are 1,000 more than he is. Like, it's just kind of strange that he doesn't get the love. Adames, Taylor, Stevenson, Kino, and then 4K, one off. I would have, you know what? Maybe I will get myself a little bit of Brandon Lau because I think he gets low owned here. No, I don't want to do that against. Yeah, I can't do that actually. Sorry, I'm just trying to figure it out and without trying to get too many guys against my pitcher. I think it's okay to have one. I don't think you want any more than that.
Oh, you know, I keep forgetting. That's what I was going to ask you today is how many, because you're usually really good at figuring out how many you could play.
Yeah, or at least trying.
Right.
But yeah, I think you could play two. But I think that the goal would be to play one. Is Newman playable at short? Sure. There's nothing exciting about Newman. He can't hit. He's got some speed. He would be. I played. What have I got? 10 lineups here. I don't have any Newman.
Okay.
But I think that look, it's one of those Pirates things. He would be the lowest end of the Pirates you want. But he is in a position that's a little bit weaker. So how do you weigh it? I would personally rather try to find a way to play Crawford, Farmer, Farmer, Franco, Adames and Farmer being clearly the two best ones for me. And I think there's other places you can spend down on your outfield if you want to get different. And people, I'm playing some Shogo and Aquino lineups in my red stacks to try and get a little bit different that way. Something I'm doing. See, Kevin, I don't want to overly talk you into doing another lineup. I'm just trying to talk about how to get off the board. And that's the problem I have. So it happens to me too. When I listen to other shows and you hear the things like, oh, I want to play another lineup because I want to get some exposure to this. Don't do that too much in general. If it's one more lineup, no big deal. But if you find yourself continuing to do that, that means you're flawed and you're making giant mistakes in your play. You want to really try to stick to your guns and not try to get too many extra lineups because there's some other tempting spots, because there's always going to be tempting spots. And honestly, this slate has less of them than most. I'm just doing the Olson thing because the Oakland Tampa thing, because I think it makes some sense. And I'm also not stacking quite as much in my main build. Anyway,
does that go along with what you were saying before? We were talking about kind of assessing our play and stuff like that, and you were mentioning that you don't want to get you get tempted sometimes to get away from sticking to your guns, and you want to do a little bit better with respect to backing up your opinions and stuff like that. That's kind of along the lines of what you were just saying, I think.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly right. That's 100% right.
And it's natural, by the way, that when you're when things aren't clicking 100%, right? You I won't say you're questioning yourself, but you listen and then you get all this noise and stuff like that. And sometimes it is better, like just to filter out all the noise, right? Just get right back to your own takes, you know.
Exactly. Meadows or Kepler, if I had to pick one. I have Castillo as my number one pitcher, so it's Meadows by a long shot for me. But I don't mind Kepler either. It's just I think Meadows is the better play most of the time here. There is a chance, like Gilbert's really good. I've been on the hey, let's go Gilbert guy. I'm 40% on him, but every lineup I don't have him in, I've got 2 guys from Tampa in, except for maybe 1. So I have him in 4 out of my 10, and the rest of them have two guys on the other side of the game. Seattle is probably, you know, the other place that people are going to, you know, that they could go to. I like the Toro play I mentioned before. You know, Escobar, like it's funny because I have lineups here with Escobar with 100 left on the table, and I keep going, well, I could just play Brandon Lowe instead. Even if I'm playing Gilbert in that lineup, I think that's a good way to go. I just think there's stolen base upside against Gilbert because he's, you know, all these young pitchers are going to have more stolen base upside than the experienced guys. Gilbert is probably going to be awesome today. The flip side is Tampa Bay scores 12 runs and wins the slate. I really think those are both well in play.
And that's the way it is with a lot of the time with the younger pitchers, you know.
With the young studs, yeah, you get the. I mean, we saw Josiah Gray the other night. They basically, you know, they couldn't touch him for a while. Then he walked the bases loaded, I think, and then got out of it, and then they still couldn't touch. You know what I mean? But again, one guy gets a hit with the bases loaded, maybe he starts panicking, and the next guy hits a home run. All of a sudden, it looks like he blew up. It's sometimes, and also it's a very fine line. But these guys are going to get wild at times. They're going to make mistakes. Gilbert is awesome. But sure thing, young guys, I always try to look to pivot off of the popular ones. Sort of like the last tournament I won that I always talk about was with Tristan McKenzie as my starting pitcher.
Wow. That's right. I remember that.
Remember against Houston, too. And he was less than 1% owned. But he had the second highest K prop on the slate, and he was like 5,900. It was like the weirdest thing. And by the way, I got crushed by the K. Well, no, actually, I only got crushed by the 1K prop yesterday. I had Dylan Cease to go under 7.5 Ks because he's never done it against the Royals, and he had like 8 in the first 4 innings.
Really?
He was on fire. But
I was wondering how he did so well. Okay.
Yeah, he was just on fire early on. It was pretty good stuff. Any guys drop in any more questions? Otherwise, me and Cheats are going to jump over to our other video we have to do in a minute, and we have to keep an eye out for lineups. Don't forget, don't project on Wednesdays. Wednesdays and Thursdays, all bets are off in terms of who's playing. Sometimes Mondays as well, because this is the day people get rested. They bring up the young guy. They let the backup catcher catch all that stuff. So just keep an eye out for who's actually playing. And
that's what I was going to ask. Are you wanting to do the main slate preview as a separate video and not part of this one? That's fine by me.
I think it makes the most sense. And I'm sorry to take up, I just thought it was nice because people were asking for it in Discord. So whenever that happens.
That's fine. I didn't know whether we were going to record this one and just transition into that. So yeah, that's fine. You want to just fire up a new one? Yeah.
Okay, guys. Well, we're going to go record our daily video show. I will be with you guys tonight at 6 Eastern. And good luck to everybody out there. Hopefully somebody gets a big win on the morning slate, and we can take that momentum into tonight. It sounds.
I do well on these morning slates, guys. I'm telling you, you might be playing for second.
I'll play. You know what? I'll take it. I'll play for second. I was really feeling good last night. I reverse jinxed myself with my screenshots in our Discord. I was trying to reverse jinx it because I keep not posting them, and they obviously haven't been coming through. But early on, I was feeling great, and I had a million outs, and all my other teams were scoring, and they weren't really hurting the other ones because it was all the same positions. And it just was a good night. It ended up being a good night, but nothing special.
Okay.
All right, guys. Good luck, everybody, and hopefully we'll crush today and tonight. We'll see you guys soon.